Two currencies, two strategies, one silent war. Not fought with guns or soldiers, but with ledgers. Today, we follow the story of US-backed stablecoins, the dollar liquefied into code, versus Yuan-backed stablecoins, China's potential new weapon in global finance. Why does it matter? Because money that moves instantly decides who wins trade. Fees vanish, borders blur, sanctions bite harder, or not at all. And just now, the game board has shifted. China's State Council is reviewing a plan to allow yuan-backed stablecoins. The roadmap could give roles to the People's Bank of China. It could fast-track launches in Hong Kong and Shanghai. For now, dollar stablecoins control almost 99% of the market. But Beijing is signaling change is coming. In Hong Kong, a new stablecoin ordinance has taken effect. Issuers now need licenses from the HK Monetary Authority. Meanwhile, in the United States, the state of Wyoming just issued its own dollar stablecoin called FRNT. And in Washington, Congress has passed the Genius Act, the first national law setting clear rules for reserves, audits, and compliance. This is no longer a theory. It's unfolding live. This is the story of architecture, of liquidity, of law, and of power. Let's begin at the foundation. What exactly is a stablecoin? A stablecoin is a digital token, but unlike Bitcoin or Ethereum, its value is tied to something else, usually the US dollar. Here's how it works. You deposit $1. The issuer places that dollar, or something nearly as good like a short-term US Treasury bill, into a reserve account. Then they issue you a token. That token is a claim. At any moment, you can redeem it back for $1. If the reserves are real, the peg holds. If the reserves are questionable, the peg wobbles. The loop is simple. Mint when money comes in, burn when money goes out. Publish attestations so markets trust the reserves exist. As of August 2025, stablecoins in total are worth about $250 to $280 billion. And here's a remarkable fact. Nearly 99% of that value is tied to the US dollar. The dollar is not just dominant in global trade, it's dominant in the digital shadows as well. Central banks in Europe have warned of the digital dollarization. The Bank for International Settlements has called it a new channel of US influence. Stablecoins are not niche anymore. They're a pillar of global liquidity. At the heart of this machine stands Tether, symbol USDT. Its supply hovers around $165 to $170 billion. It dominates because it is everywhere. On Ethereum, on Tron, on exchanges in every time zone. Tether holds most of its reserves in US Treasuries and cash. Every month, it releases an attestation. Critics analyze every footnote line by line, suspicious of any gap. Yet for millions of traders in Asia, in Africa, and Latin America, USDT is simply how money moves. Then there's USDC, issued by Circle. Circle is a regulated US firm. It runs on strict compliance, partnerships with major banks, and now public scrutiny. In June 2025, Circle went public on the New York Stock Exchange, ticker symbol CRCL. Its first quarterly results showed strong revenue, rising USDC supply, and institutional adoption. USDC is the coin of banks, fintech firms, and payment networks. It is the compliance-first stablecoin. PayPal has entered the game with PYUSD, embedding stablecoins into mainstream payments. Meanwhile, a wave of tokenized treasury bills has emerged, a bridge between the stablecoin market and traditional government debt. But the boldest move came from a US state. In August 2025, Wyoming launched FRNT, the first government-issued US dollar stablecoin. It is fully reserved. It plans to distribute revenue into public programs. It is launching across 7 different blockchains at once. This is not a private company. It is a state minting company on code. All of this now falls under a new legal umbrella. The Genius Act, signed in July 2025, sets clear guardrails. Stablecoins must be backed 100% by liquid assets. Monthly disclosures are mandatory. Compliance with anti-money laundering law is non-negotiable. And issuers must have the ability to freeze tokens on lawful order. The US has just signaled, stablecoins are not going away. They're being absorbed into the financial system. Now, let's turn east. China has spent years developing the eCNY, its central bank digital currency. It's programmable, it's wallet-based, and pilots are already running across dozens of Chinese cities. In 2025, the eCNY expanded to Hong Kong. Residents there can top up wallets through the faster payment system. Cross-border tests are underway using the Payment Connect link. The eCNY is not a stablecoin. It is state money issued directly by the People's Bank of China. But here lies the puzzle. The eCNY is tightly controlled. It is bound by capital controls. It is not easy to plug into foreign systems. Stablecoins are different. They're offshore friendly. They're programmable. They fit into global crypto and DeFi markets with ease. This is why China is now considering its own yuan-backed stablecoins. In the past, projects like CNHT and CNHC tried to issue offshore yuan tokens, but they lived in a legal gray zone. Some were shut down under crackdowns. Now the door may be opening again. On August 1st, 2025, Hong Kong switched on its stablecoin licensing regime. Any issuer of a fiat-backed token must apply for approval. Regulators expect the first licenses to be granted in 2026. Global banks are already preparing. Standard Chartered, for example, announced a joint venture to apply for a license. Hong Kong is becoming the launchpad for yuan stablecoins. Why is China moving now? Because it wants more yuan in trade invoices. Because it wants to reduce dependence on the US dollar and the SWIFT network. Because it wants the CIPS system to carry more global flows. If China allows a yuan stablecoin, especially in Hong Kong, it creates an alternative rail for Belt and Road partners, for regional trade hubs, for sanctioned states. But the challenges remain: capital controls, trust deficits, and the fact that dollar stablecoins already own nearly the entire market. Behind the headlines are the mechanics. Reserves are usually cash and US Treasury bills. Duration risk is minimal. Interest income, billions of dollars, flows to the issuers, or in Wyoming's case, to public programs. Attestations are not the same as audits. Most issuers release monthly assurance reports, but the true audits are rare. Stablecoins live across multiple blockchains. USDT thrives on Tron. USDC dominates Ethereum and its Layer 2 networks. FRNT launches on 7 chains at once. Compliance is also code. Issuers can freeze wallets. They integrate sanctions lists like OFAC, Office of Foreign Assets Control. Hong Kong goes further, demanding strict identity verification at issuance. Stablecoins may look like money, but technically, they're a fusion of databases, compliance APIs, and programmable contracts. Stablecoins are more than finance. They're geopolitics in code. US dollar stablecoins extend the reach of sanctions. If OFAC orders a freeze, issuers comply. A yuan stablecoin would follow Chinese rules instead. It could route through the CIPS payment system, bypassing SWIFT altogether. The European Central Bank warns of digital dollarization, emerging economies relying not on their local currency, but on the US stablecoins for daily payments. China sees this, and it worries. But breaking the dollar's network effect is hard. Liquidity begets liquidity, and right now, the dollar pool is ocean-sized. What might 2030 look like? 1. Status quo plus. The dollar still owns 85 to 90% of stablecoins. The yuan gains a niche foothold. Maybe path number 2, dual rail. Yuan stablecoins take hold in Asia's trade hubs. Dollar stablecoins remain dominant in crypto and remittances. Path 3, public sector push. State and central bank coins like FRNT or ECNY compress private issuers. Or 4, fragment and filter. Jurisdictions geofence, bridges manage compliance, and the Internet of Money fractures into zones. Money is code now. The question is, whose code? The dollar has turned US treasuries into an API. China wants the yuan to travel just as easily. Between them is the future of trade, written line by line, block by block. To know the entire history of the US dollar, click over here, and we'll see you there.